Hi there and welcome to my channel. My name is Lydia and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make your own personalized dry erase lapboards for kids. These are great for tracing, handwriting practice, and math practice as well. Alright, let's get started. To create this project, you're going to need a rounded edged rectangle SVG. And so you can download this directly from my blog for free in the free download section. I'll have a link to it in the description box below. Once you upload it to the Glowforge software, you're going to want to size it to a size that works for you. I like to use a 9 by 11 size. That's large enough for kids to work with and also fit a standard size sheet of paper, just cut down a little bit. Now you can absolutely use the Glowforge proof grade acrylic, but I find that it's a little bit expensive with the shipping cost. I order mine on Amazon and it comes to about $4 a sheet for a 12 by 12 size. I'll also have that linked in the description box as well as everything else that I use in this video. Once you have your SVG uploaded and your sizing set, you'll choose medium clear acrylic from the materials tab. Then you'll send it to cut. It'll take about 1.5 minutes to cut a 9 by 11 rectangle, and then you'll need to do this again. So you'll want to make 2 of these. You're going to make one for the front side and one for the back. All right, now that we have our acrylic cut, we're going to need the worksheet that we're going to put between the acrylic. Now, this is one that I have created. I have it available to purchase on my Etsy shop. You can download it and then use it in your own shop, but it's pretty easy to make. You can create this in PowerPoint and look up the kinds of things you'd want to put on it. A tracing side with the name and the alphabet, and then on the other side maybe you have some math things like shapes and tens frames and things like that. Make it your own, get creative. It all depends on what your child needs. Now if you are going to be selling these lapboards, I highly recommend that you create your own file here. You create your own worksheet. There are so many worksheets online that you can find and download, but you could run into some trouble if you're using someone else's work and selling it in your own product. So I highly recommend that you make your own. Another tip I want to share is when you're creating your worksheet, try to stick to simple fonts that are easy for children to read and replicate. You don't want to use anything too fancy or like really fine, script and things like that. You want to stick to a print font that's easy to read for a child. When it comes to the tracing fonts with the little lines, I'm using KG Primary Penmanship Lined. You can look for that online. She sells her fonts online as well. I highly recommend using those fonts. They're amazing. But keeping the font simple helps the child to read it and to be able to work with it that much easier. Once you create your worksheet, it's super easy to go back into PowerPoint and just change the names whenever you need to, change a little icon for the child's face if you want to. You can add in other types of graphics or clip art. Get really creative with it. Once you have your worksheet ready to go, the front and the back, you're going to print the front on one side, then flip the paper and print the back on the other side. So here we have our worksheet. We have our acrylic sheets, and we're also going to have glue dots, the micro size, and also you're going to want this side grip acrylic cement. It's just what binds the acrylic to each piece. I have a smaller little squeeze bottle for it, some clamps, and a corner punch. All right, so I like to trim my paper down so that it's a little bit smaller than the 9 by 11 size. So I trim off probably about 1/2 inch all the way around so that I have enough space for the solvent cement to actually bond with the acrylic. After that, I use a rounded corner punch to to round the corners of the paper so it's not as sharp looking underneath. This is totally optional, but it's just aesthetically pleasing. All right, now you'll remove the protective paper from your acrylic sheets. And that'll expose the shiny acrylic underneath, but just take that paper off, you can just throw it away. The next thing you're gonna wanna do is apply the glue dots to the corners of your worksheet. This is going to help you keep the paper in place as you adhere both sides of the acrylic to each other. After you press that paper down and make sure that it's well in place and not moving on the acrylic, you can take a little squeeze bottle and put some of the solvent cement into it. It just makes it easier because the tip of the tube is just so wide that it actually ends up putting out too much of this stuff. And once it's on your acrylic, there's no turning back. So I squeeze it into a bottle that has a really fine point on the tip. You don't need a lot, just about a fourth of the bottle is fine. But as you can see here, the tip is very small and the opening is very small, so it helps you to have more control over the flow of the solvent when it comes out. It's kind of like a gel, so it's not going to come flooding out, but it comes out pretty fast, so just keep that in mind. When applying the solvent, you want to put it right onto the acrylic, close to the edge, but not flowing over the edge, and also not on the paper. So make sure that you have enough of a space between the paper and the edge that you can create a nice line. Next, you'll lay the second piece of acrylic on top of the first piece. So it's going to make contact with that solvent gel, and then you're going to clamp it so that it stays tight during the curing time. The paper will be sandwiched in between and it won't move around because it has the glue dots on it as well. But the solvent gel will cure and the two pieces of acrylic will actually fuse. This isn't like glue to where there's like a layer of adhesive in between. This is a chemical reaction that causes the acrylic to actually fuse to the other piece of acrylic. It becomes one piece on that line of gel, which creates a very strong bond, which is great when you're working with kids that are going to drop it and everything. But at the same time, it's not unbreakable. It can break, and so we want to make sure that children are as gentle with it as they can be. But this solvent, like I said, is going to make it pretty much become one piece. I placed the clamps all the way around, pretty evenly spaced, and they stay on for the entire curing time, which will be 24 hours. Now, I've played around with various types of clamps, and what I will say is you don't want a clamp that's too strong and you don't want a clamp that's too weak. These ones are just right. I've tried ones that were too strong and they actually ended up cracking the acrylic around the solvent line, so you want to make sure that you have clamps that aren't too strong and aren't too weak either. All right, now that our curing time is done, I can take the clamps off and you can see that solvent line right there, but it's also very secure. You can't pull it apart. It's fused and bonded to itself. So this is a really strong seal. Now you can use dry erase markers on it, wet erase markers on it. You can use both sides of it. It's just a wonderful addition to your home classroom or the car, for example, as something to keep your kids busy on a road trip even. I hope that this video has been helpful, and if it has, please like and share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.